Hello and welcome to Quest Recapped. Today, we will be going through the 2021 animated sci-fi comedy film, Ron's Gone Wrong. The movie opens at a tech company called Bubble Corporation, where the CEO, Mark Waddell, introduces his latest innovation, the Bee-Bot. The purpose of this robot is to be an ideal friend to children by learning all of their interests using social media data. Furthermore, based on individual interests, this robot can connect its owners to other children with whom they might form friendships. Following the successful launch, this invention becomes an instant hit among children, and within a few months, Bee-Bot soon takes over the globe, with every child in the town now owning one. In the next scene, we are introduced to Barney Pudwowski, who is the only boy in town who does not have a Bee-Bot. He lives with his father and grandmother, and he has no friends because he is quite shy and reserved. On his way to school one morning, Barney notices the other kids having fun with their Bee-Bots and becomes upset. While he is distracted, he is almost hit by a car. But fortunately, the driver manages to stop the vehicle in time, but just then, one of the Bee-Bots falls from the car and sustains some damage. Later, when Barney arrives at school, he notices that all of the kids have brought their Bee-Bots and are playing together. During class, the Bee-Bots are placed in their designated location so that they do not disrupt the lesson. It turns out to be Barney's birthday, and he has made lots of invitations for his party. But he is hesitant to give it to anyone because the last time he had kids at his birthday party, the animals that her grandmother kept caused a commotion and a fire, sending kids running. When one of his teachers discovers that it is his birthday, she tries to cheer him up by asking other students to play with him. A few minutes later, his classmates, including the popular Savannah, approach him and begin wishing him a happy birthday. Then, a prankster named Rich and his friends begin making fun of Barney to stream his dumb internet videos. After school, Barney returns home, where his father and grandmother have set up a birthday party for him. However, he informs them that he has not invited kids due to the fire incident years ago. He's hoping for a Bee-Bot as a birthday present this year. Moments after, the doorbell rings and Barney thinks that his father has ordered a Bee-Bot for him. However, it is revealed to be a huge rock sent by Rich and his friends to prank Barney. When the father sees Barney unhappy, he realizes how much his son wants a Bee-Bot. So, he and the grandma goes to Bubble headquarters to purchase a Bee-Bot for Barney. However, the store clerk tells them that they must pre-order 3 months in advance, and also, a goat is not accepted as payment. They are about to go home, upset when they see an employee transporting a Bee-Bot that was injured by a fall this morning. Barney's father then approaches the employee and illicitly buys the damaged Bee-Bot for a low price. The next morning, when Barney wakes up, he is overjoyed to see the Bee-Bot in his room. However, when he tries to activate it, the device performs strangely and slowly. Following that, Barney tries to take his Bee-Bot to school, but several problems occur on their way. Barney believes that the Bee-Bot has to be updated to work well, so he leaves it at home and goes to school. Later, when Barney returns home, he discovers that the Bee-Bot has messed up his room and is now dancing with Grandma in the kitchen. Realizing that the device has been damaged, Barney decides to return it to the Bubble store for a replacement. On the way, they come across a playground where Rich and his friends are hanging out. Rich then starts tormenting Barney again, asking him to sing and dance for them. Hearing this, Barney's Bee-Bot rolls toward them and begins singing the tune he learned at home. Barney requests that Rich return the bot, but Rich only continues to mock Barney, causing the Bee-Bot to attack Rich. When Rich fights back, the bot becomes even more enraged and starts to chase the boys around, causing them to become entangled in the playground fixtures. Due to this incident, Barney is impressed with his Bee-Bot and decides not to exchange it for anything else. He then begins to call him Ron based on the serial number on his back. However, because the police are concerned about a violent Bee-Bot on the loose, Barney and Ron are returned to the Bubble facility. When the cops arrive at the workplace, they tell the staff to destroy Ron since he causes violence. However, before Ron gets destroyed by the Crusher, Barney saves it and tries to get away. The officials notice him and a chase begins until Barney is captured and forced to hand over his Bee-Bot. Following that, Barney returns home with his family. However, it turns out that he had replaced his Bee-Bot with the company's Bee-Bot, and Ron is still with him. Meanwhile, Mark and his business partner, Andrew Morris, meet with journalists to discuss how well the Bee-Bot is selling. Mark is more interested in making the device more kid-friendly, but Andrew is only concerned with the share price and profit. When the media question them about the bee-bot that attacked children, they panic and hurry to the facility. They then see the footage of Ron assaulting Rich and his friends. Mark gets confused because his bee-bots are incapable of violence. So he asks to check out the bee-bot personally, but the staff informs him that it has already been destroyed. On the other hand, Barney arrives at the house and begins teaching Ron various things. He tells Ron what is friendship and talks about his likes and dislikes. They spend time at home laughing and joking around, and Barney even confides in Ron about his loneliness. Days later, as they are talking on top of a hill, Ron falls and rolls all the way to Savannah's house. Savannah is about to do a live show with her friend when the robot comes, snatches the lights, and falls into the pool, causing a big short circuit. Soon after, Barney arrives and jumps into the water to save Ron. He apologizes to Savannah for the mess and asks her not to tell anyone about his bee-bot. While they are leaving, Savannah sends Ron a friend request, but Barney explains that his robot is unusual and does not normally make friends. Savannah then claims that if a bee-bot does not make friends, he is useless since that is his responsibility. That night, Ron is intrigued by what Savannah said and claims that his job is to bring Barney new friends. However, Barney argues that he doesn't need anyone and that his best friend, Ron, is enough. Later, when the light goes out, Barney becomes anxious. Ron then realizes that he is afraid of the dark and acts as a night light to calm him. The next day, Savannah's popular live video of Ron is seen by everyone, including Bubble employees. Andrew then realizes that the troublesome bee-bot has not been destroyed. So they immediately set out to find Barney and Ron. Meanwhile, Ron walks around town seeking strangers who can be Barney's friends. He even distributes flyers throughout the city inviting people to become Barney's friends. He ultimately finds an elderly woman, a biker, a homeless man, and a baby, whom he brings to Barney's school. This sparks a ruckus in the school, so Barney is summoned to the principal's office. In the midst of the chaos, Rich approaches Ron and discovers that his safety features have not been installed. They use their bee-bots to copy Ron's programming, allowing their bee-bots to run wild and continue the code to all of the other kids' bee-bots. This causes even more commotion since the bots start merging together and Savannah uses her bot to capture the events, which everyone at Bubble watches. Due to this incident, Barney is expelled from school. On the walk home, Barney becomes enraged with Ron's actions and orders it to go away. When Barney returns home, he notices several Bubble employees there. He then goes inside the shed and notices Ron getting ready to send himself back to Bubble headquarters. However, Barney apologizes to him and they make up with each other. Suddenly, they hear his father's voice approaching the shed. So, Barney and Ron escape out of the cage and hide in Savannah's yard. Barney then requests Savannah and asks her not to tell anyone about his location. Following this, Barney and Ron continue running toward the woods. The two spend the day playing outside and then rest at a huge tower at night. Barney informs Ron that he was close friends with Savannah and Rich before they became obsessed with popularity. Meanwhile, Barney's father and grandmother visit every house in the hope to locate Barney. They then get to Savannah, but she doesn't reveal anything since she had promised Barney. The following day, at school, Savannah meets Rich and tells him that Barney fled into the woods and blames themselves for this. Later, their conversation is watched by the employees of Bubble Company, so they direct all bee-bots to look for Barney in the woods. Meanwhile, Ron runs out of his battery and goes into sleep mode. Barney then comes out of hiding and tries to locate a power source to charge Ron. But then he notices a red light trying to find him. Barney tries to hide from it and in the process, he and Ron fall into a hole. When Andrew notices Barney fall, he quickly hides the information from the other staff. Turns out he has planned to leave Barney in the hole, so he orders all the bee-bots and employees to return home. Sometime later, Barney becomes weaker because of temperature and his asthma, so Ron uses what little battery he has left to take him to town in the morning. Barney seems sad and asks Ron to stop, but Ron continues on his journey. After exiting the woods, Savannah and the other students rush up to Barney to help him. Soon after, his father, grandmother, and Mark also arrive and take him to the hospital. After this incident, the entire world regards Ron as a hero, and the Bubble Corporation abandons its intention to destroy him as well. Later, Barney wakes up at the hospital and is visited by Mark. Mark then hands him a fully updated Ron, who acts like any other B-bot. Ron dislikes the new B-bot and requests that Mark return his old system. Mark tries to restore Ron's previous algorithm from Bubble's cloud, only to discover that he is no longer able to access his own system. It turns out that Andrew has taken over the company as the new CEO, replacing Mark. Mark then states that there is only one way to restore Ron's system, which is getting Ron's files from the company's cloud. Afterward, Barney tries to enter the Bubble company with the help of his family and Mark. Barney's father switches off the power, while his grandma, disguised as a janitor, is in charge of securely getting them inside. When Andrew discovers that Barney is in the building looking, he orders that all servers be turned off. Barney makes it to the server room with Mark's help, but it is enormous, and he has no idea how to reach Ron. When it gets dark, he notices the bright light that Ron makes for him and locates his program. Then, he rushes to the light source and discovers Ron's file system. Mark, on the other hand, attempts to restart the server network. Fortunately, the two are successful in restoring Ron's system. However, just then, Ron shows the state of Barney's friends, who appear lonely on their B-bot screen. Barney realizes he isn't the only one who has been feeling lonely all this time. He comes up with the idea of uploading Ron's programming to their bots because Ron's code lacks the algorithm that the standard bots have, and he is programmed to learn manually. Barney then enlists Mark's help in replicating Ron's system code so that it can be shared with all of the B-bots. However, when they try to clone Ron's code, it turns out to be flawed, which could cause Ron to lose forever. When Mark realizes this, he quickly cancels the system. Barney also does not want Ron to disappear, but Ron regards that his ultimate goal is to bring Barney friends, so he decides to dissolve himself for the greater cause. Barney then shares his final moments with Ron before it gets uploaded into the cloud and overwrites the B-bot's programming. Following this, Mark contacts Andrew and forces him into stepping down as CEO by blackmailing him with his dirty secrets. 3 months later, all the kids at school has malfunctioning B-bots like Ron, but it has made them more entertaining, and the kids like them. Instead of invading their privacy, B-bots now help children in making genuine friends. Barney no longer feels isolated as he has made some good friends including Savannah and Rich. In the final scene, Barney and his friends sit together while eating chicken feet made by his grandmother. We have come to the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Kindly like, subscribe, and share this video. If you also have thoughts you intend to share, kindly leave them in the comment section. See you in the next video.